The UES Hyperion emerged from its quantum fold drive with a shudder that resonated through its titanium alloy hull. Captain Maya Rodriguez steadied herself against her command chair, dark eyes fixed on the main view screen, as reality reasserted itself around Earth's first deep space vessel. They had pushed the experimental drive further than ever before, venturing well beyond humanity's previous exploration limits. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the lingering disorientation from the fold. "All systems nominal, Captain." Lieutenant Sarah Chen reported from the operations console. "QFD is cycling down normally." Wait. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface. Multiple energy signatures detected. Large-scale weapons discharge at bearing 047 Mark 315. Rodriguez leaned forward. They weren't supposed to find anyone out here. Earth's most ambitious survey of the galaxy had detected no signs of advanced civilizations in this sector. On screen, maximum magnification. The view shifted, and collective gasps echoed across the bridge. Against the backdrop of a blue-white star, dozens of vessels were engaged in combat. But these weren't the clumsy early attempts at space warfare that humanity had theorized. These ships moved with impossible grace, energy weapons painting the void between them in colors Rodriguez had never seen before. "Multiple ship designs detected," reported Commander David Okafor, the Hyperion's chief science officer. "At least 3 distinct technological bases." But those readings. He trailed off, brow furrowed as he studied his displays. "Captain, one group appears to be consuming the others. Their mass is increasing with each engagement." Rodriguez watched as a sleek, crystalline vessel approached what appeared to be a disabled ship. Tendrils of ethereal energy reached out, and before their eyes, the damaged vessel simply dissolved, its mass visibly flowing into the crystalline predator. "New contact." Chen's voice carried an edge of alarm. "Large vessel on an intercept course. Non-crystalline design." A massive ship, easily 3 times the size of the Hyperion, was approaching at high speed. Its organic curves and iridescent hull marked it as clearly alien, but unlike the crystalline vessels, it showed signs of damage and desperate repairs. "We're being hailed," Communications Officer Patil announced. "The signal. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Multiple layers of quantum-entangled particles carrying. I think it's some kind of biochemical language pattern." "Can we respond?" Rodriguez asked, knowing humanity's first contact protocols were about to be thrown out the window. "The universal translator is adapting. Establishing connection." The view screen shifted, and Rodriguez found herself facing a being that defied easy description. Multiple tentacle-like appendages framed a body that seemed to pulse with bioluminescent patterns. When it spoke, the translator rendered its biochemical signals into syntax they could understand. "Unknown vessel, you have entered an active combat zone. The Nexus Concordat is engaged in defensive operations against Class 5 hostile entities. You must withdraw immediately." Rodriguez stood, squaring her shoulders. "This is Captain Maya Rodriguez of the United Earth ship Hyperion. We're witnessing your conflict. Those crystalline vessels, they're consuming your ships." The void parasites, the alien confirmed, its bioluminescence shifting to darker hues. "They consume all they encounter, converting mass and energy into more of themselves. We have fought them for 3 of your Earth years. We are losing." A massive explosion lit up the viewport as another defender ship succumbed to the parasites. Rodriguez watched as the crystalline vessels began to turn toward their position, their formation shifting with an unsettling synchronization. "Chief Okafor," she called out, "what are you seeing in those sensor readings?" "The parasites appear to operate on principles of quantum entanglement, Captain. Their shields adapt to any energy signature they encounter, but—" He paused, an idea visibly forming. "They're perfect, too perfect." "Explain." "In quantum mechanics, observation affects outcome. These beings are so perfectly adapted that they've become slaves to their own efficiency. They can only respond in optimal patterns. Rodriguez turned back to the alien commander. Your weapons, they're based on clean energy principles, aren't they? Perfect efficiency. Of course, the alien responded, patterns suggesting confusion. All advanced civilizations develop beyond crude particle physics and nuclear reactions. A smile crossed Rodriguez's face. Sometimes humanity's greatest strength was its stubborn refusal to abandon obsolete technology. Commander, we're about to demonstrate why Earth still maintains a variety of weapon systems. Lieutenant Chen, bring all relevant batteries online. Load them with the special penetrator rounds. Captain, the aliens' patterns shifted rapidly. Your primitive kinetic weapons will be useless against their shields. Exactly, Rodriguez replied. They're so primitive, so inefficient, so unpredictable in their impact patterns that the parasites won't know how to adapt. Their perfect quantum shields are calibrated for energy weapons, not chunks of magnetized tungsten moving at relativistic speeds. She watched the crystalline vessels approach, their formations already shifting to counter what they assumed would be another energy-based attack. All batteries, calculate firing solutions. Time on target barrage, maximum dispersion patterns. Let's show them why sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The Hyperion's railguns spoke as one, launching clouds of hypersonic penetrator rounds. The parasite shields, expecting energy weapons, struggled to adapt to the chaotic impact patterns of solid projectiles. Where perfect energy shields would have held, the sheer unpredictability of kinetic impacts created microscopic fluctuations. Shields flickered, failed, and crystalline hulls shattered. Impossible, the alien commander's patterns betrayed astonishment. Their shields have never. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one, Rodriguez replied, watching as the parasites began to retreat, their perfect formations broken by the introduction of chaos into their systems. Now shall we discuss how humanity might help you end this war? The aliens' bioluminescence shifted to patterns the translator interpreted as hope. Perhaps, it acknowledged, the Nexus Concordat has something to learn from Earth after all. As the Hyperion moved to join the alien fleet, Rodriguez reflected on humanity's first contact. It wasn't the peaceful exchange of scientific knowledge they had hoped for, but it was quintessentially human. Arriving in the middle of a crisis and immediately improvising a solution that more advanced civilizations had overlooked. The war was far from over, but humanity had made its entrance onto the galactic stage in spectacular fashion. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was turning seemingly impossible situations to their advantage. The void parasites were about to learn that perfection wasn't always the path to victory. The command center of the Nexus Concordat's flagship hummed with activity as holographic displays showed the movements of both Allied forces and void parasite clusters. Captain Rodriguez stood beside First Speaker Vaxleth, whose tendrils waved in complex patterns that the translator now rendered with increasing accuracy. Your vessel's success was remarkable, Vaxleth communicated, bioluminescent patches pulsing with curiosity. But surely you understand it was merely the element of surprise. The parasites will adapt. Rodriguez smiled, pulling up a holographic display of her own, crude by Concordat standards, but effective. That's counting on, First Speaker. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to keep changing the rules of engagement. The display showed schematics for what the Hyperion's engineering team had been working on for the past week. Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka had barely slept, combining human ingenuity with Concordat technology in ways that made the alien scientists' appendages twitch with equal parts fascination and horror. You want to deliberately introduce inefficiencies into our quantum phase cannons. The First Speaker's patterns shifted to what Rodriguez had learned to recognize as disbelief. The very suggestion defies centuries of weapons development. Exactly, Commander Okafor interjected, stepping forward with his own data. The parasites adapt to perfection. They expect perfection. Their entire existence is built around achieving optimal efficiency. so we give them the opposite. The schematics shifted, showing how human-designed chaos theory algorithms could be integrated into the Concordat's weapon systems. Each shot would be deliberately imperfect, following patterns that appeared random but contained hidden mathematical principles that human computers could predict and exploit. It's like boxing, Rodriguez explained, earning more confused patterns from the alien leadership. Sometimes you throw your jab wrong on purpose, get your opponent used to defending against sloppy attacks. Then when you throw it perfect, that's when it lands. Lieutenant Chen, who had been quietly working with the Concordat's tactical officers, brought up another display. We've also been analyzing the parasites' movement patterns. They operate like a neural network, but one that's too perfect. No redundancy, no waste. We can use that against them. The next few hours were spent in intense discussion as human military doctrine collided with alien technological superiority. The Concordat had spent generations perfecting their technology, making it more efficient, more precise. The idea of deliberately introducing chaos into their systems went against everything they believed in. But they couldn't deny the results of the simulations. There's something else, Rodriguez added, as their planning session drew to a close. We need to understand more about how the parasites think. Commander Okafor has a theory about their origin. The science officer stepped forward again. They're not natural, he stated firmly. The parasites show signs of being engineered, probably as some kind of ultimate weapon or perhaps a runaway experimental protocol. Their drive for perfection, their inability to handle chaos, these are hallmarks of artificial constraints. Vaxileth's patterns shifted to deep contemplation. You believe they were created. By whom? That's less important than what it tells us about how to fight them, Rodriguez interjected. If they're artificial, they have core programming. Fundamental rules they can't break. We don't need to outfight them. We need to crash their system. The human crew spent the next several days working alongside their alien counterparts, breaking down cultural barriers as they worked to implement their unconventional strategies. The Concordat engineers were brilliant but rigid in their thinking, while the humans constantly suggested solutions that seemed to defy logic but somehow worked. Engineering teams argued over the proper way to modify weapon systems, tactical officers debated combat doctrine, and even the ship's mess hall became a cultural exchange as human coffee was traded for alien beverages that shifted colors based on the drinker's mood. But it was during one of these casual exchanges that Lieutenant Chen made a breakthrough. Watching an alien crew member's natural bioluminescence, she suddenly sat up straight. Their communications, the parasites, they use quantum entanglement, right? Perfect, instantaneous information exchange. Of course, the alien responded. It's the only efficient way to coordinate large fleet actions. Chen's eyes lit up. But what if we could introduce noise into their network? Not enough to shut it down, just enough to create subtle errors that compound over time. The idea spread quickly through both human and alien command structures. The Concordat's quantum communications experts worked with human chaos theorists to develop what they called a quantum static generator, a device that would inject random quantum fluctuations into the parasite's perfect network. As the combined fleet prepared to test their new strategies, Rodriguez stood on the Hyperion's bridge, watching the tactical display. The parasites had adapted to their initial railgun attack as expected, but they had no way to prepare for what was coming next. All ships synchronize quantum static generators, she ordered. Prepare for Operation Wildcard. The first speaker's patterns showed what the translator interpreted as a mix of anticipation and concern. You truly believe introducing deliberate imperfection into our systems will give us an advantage? Rodriguez nodded. Perfection is predictable. Humanity's greatest achievements often came from embracing our imperfections and finding ways to turn them into strengths. As the fleet moved into position, she couldn't help but reflect on the irony. Humanity had spent centuries trying to achieve the kind of technological perfection the Concordat had mastered, only to discover that their greatest contribution to this war would be teaching their new allies the value of imperfection. The void parasites were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the perfect strategy. It's the one willing to throw away the rulebook entirely. The combined fleet of human and Concordat vessels hung in the darkness of space, waiting. Intelligence had tracked a massive parasite cluster to this sector, one of their primary conversion centers where captured ships and resources were broken down and reformed into more of their crystalline vessels. Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical display on the Hyperion's bridge, where red dots indicated the estimated positions of parasite forces. The plan they'd developed was either brilliant or insane, possibly both. But that was exactly why it might work. All ships reporting ready, Captain, Lieutenant Chen announced. Quantum static generators are synchronized and charging. Concordat vessels confirm successful implementation of the Chaos protocols. First speaker, Rodriguez called over the quantum comm. Your forces are prepared. Vaxleth's response came with patterns indicating both determination and lingering doubt. The modifications to our quantum phase cannons are complete, though I must note that my engineers are still expressing severe reservations about deliberately reducing their efficiency. Sometimes you have to go backward to move forward, Rodriguez replied. Commander Okafor, status of the bait. The quantum signature duplicator is operating within parameters, Okafor reported from his science station. To the parasites, will appear to be a damaged and isolated Concordat supply convoy. Easy prey. The plan was audacious. They would draw the parasites in with the false signature of vulnerable ships, then spring their trap. But the real complexity lay in the timing. They needed the parasites to commit fully to the attack before revealing their true strength. Contact, Chen called out. Multiple crystalline signatures emerging from quantum space. They're taking the bait. The tactical display lit up as parasite vessels began to appear, their formations perfect as always. Rodriguez watched as they moved to surround what they thought was a helpless convoy, their movements synchronized with machine-like precision. Now, Rodriguez ordered, execute Operation Wildcard. The quantum static generators activated simultaneously across the fleet. The effect was subtle at first, microscopic disruptions in the parasite's communication network. But like ripples in a pond, these tiny imperfections began to multiply and cascade. Parasites showing signs of coordination loss, Okafor reported, excitement creeping into his voice. Their quantum entanglement network is experiencing degradation. Formation coherence dropping to 82%, 75%, 61%. Rodriguez keyed her comm. All ships, commence attack pattern Delta. Remember, no perfect shots. Keep them guessing. The modified Concordat quantum phase cannons opened fire, each shot deliberately varied in power and precision. Where once they had fired with perfect efficiency, now they created a chaotic web of energy that the parasites struggled to adapt to. Human railguns added to the chaos, their kinetic rounds following seemingly random but carefully calculated trajectories. The parasite fleet's response was telling. Individual ships began to show signs of confusion, their perfect formations breaking down as conflicting data flowed through their degraded network. Some ships fired at shadows, others failed to fire at all. It's working, Chen exclaimed. Their adaptive shields can't maintain coherence. They're trying to optimize for too many variables at once. Rodriguez watched as the first parasite vessel shattered under the combined assault. But victory wouldn't come easily. Even in confusion, the crystalline ships were incredibly dangerous. Concordat vessel Stellar Harmony is hit, Okafor reported. Critical damage to their primary systems. Hyperion, moving to assist, Rodriguez commanded. Engineering, divert power to forward shields. Let's show them what human emergency response looks like. The Hyperion dove through the chaos of battle. Its hybrid shields, a combination of human resilience and Concordat efficiency, holding against the storm of crystal shards and energy beams. They reached the Stellar Harmony just as its quantum core began to destabilize. Emergency transport protocols engage, Chen reported. We're beaming their crew aboard. The rescue operation was pure human improvisation, something the parasites had never encountered. While Concordat doctrine called for damaged ships to be abandoned in precise evacuation patterns, the humans refused to give up on their allies. As the battle raged on, the true power of their strategy became apparent. The parasites, designed to counter perfect efficiency, were being undone by deliberate imperfection. Their adaptive capabilities became a weakness as they tried to optimize for attacks that followed no logical pattern. Parasite fleet cohesion is below 30%, Okafor announced. They're beginning to break formation. Some units are attempting to retreat, others are pressing the attack. There's no coordination. This is First Speaker Vaxleth. The alien commander's patterns showed intense excitement. All vessels press the advantage. Do not allow them to reestablish quantum coherence. The combined fleet surged forward, their apparently chaotic attacks following a deeper pattern that only they understood. Parasite vessels, cut off from their network and unable to adapt to the multilayered assault, began to fall one by one. But in their death throes, the parasites revealed something unexpected. As their perfect formations crumbled, some ships began to display signs of individual behavior, desperate, erratic actions that suggested something more than simple programming. "Captain," Okafor called out, his voice urgent. "I'm detecting unusual energy patterns in the destroyed parasite vessels. These readings, they're similar to brainwave patterns." Rodriguez felt a chill. They're not just artificial constructs, are they? "No," Okafor confirmed. "I believe there's some kind of hybrid, biological consciousness forced into crystalline forms. The perfect efficiency, the hive mind. It's not programming. It's imprisonment." The revelation added a new dimension to their victory, but also raised disturbing questions. Who had created the parasites? What had they done to the beings that became these crystalline entities? As the last parasite vessels retreated or were destroyed, Rodriguez knew they had won more than just a battle. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or even tactics. It was their ability to think beyond conventional boundaries and find solutions in apparent weaknesses. But they had also stumbled upon a mystery that would have far-reaching implications for both humanity and the Concordat. The war was taking a turn none of them had expected, and the true nature of their enemy was only beginning to be understood. The observation deck of the Concordat's Central Command Station provided a breathtaking view of the combined fleet. Human vessels, their angular designs stark against the organic curves of Concordat ships, moved in formation as crews conducted joint training exercises. But Captain Rodriguez's attention was focused on the holographic display showing their latest discovery. "These energy patterns are unmistakable," Commander Okafor explained to the assembled human and Concordat leadership. "The crystalline structures aren't just vessels. They're prisons. Each one contains what appears to be a consciousness, forced into a perfect, rigid pattern." First Speaker Vaxleth's bioluminescence flickered with distress. "You're suggesting these beings were transformed against their will, forced into this existence." "More than that," Rodriguez added, stepping forward. "Based on the decay patterns we've observed in destroyed parasite vessels, these consciousnesses are fighting their programming. Every time we disrupt their quantum network, we see glimpses of individual behavior." The revelation had profound implications. What they had thought was a war of survival against mindless consumers had become something far more complex. The parasites weren't just enemies to be destroyed. They were victims to be saved. Lieutenant Chen, who had been working closely with Concordat communications experts, brought up new data. "We've been analyzing the quantum statics effects more closely. When we disrupt their network, we're not just interfering with their coordination. We're creating moments of freedom. Brief instances where the imprisoned consciousnesses can assert themselves." The next few hours were spent in intense discussion as humans and aliens worked to understand the full implications of their discovery. The Concordat's perfect technology had been unable to defeat the parasites, but perhaps that perfection wasn't what was needed. Perhaps what these imprisoned beings needed was humanity's gift for imperfection, for chaos, for freedom. "There's something else," Okafor added, his expression grave. "The crystalline technology. It bears similarities to certain theoretical work being done back on Earth. Research into quantum consciousness transfer." Rodriguez felt a chill. "You think humans could be responsible for this?" "Not us specifically," Okafor clarified. "But perhaps a human civilization from another timeline, another reality. One that chose to pursue perfection at any cost." The theory sparked intense debate among both humans and aliens. The Concordat scientists, initially skeptical, began to see patterns they had missed before. The parasites' behavior, their drive for perfection, their inability to handle chaos, it all pointed to a darker version of humanity's potential future. "If this is true," Vaxleth communicated, patterns showing deep concern, "then your species carries both the cure and the cause within itself." "That's humanity in a nutshell," Rodriguez replied with a grim smile. "We're capable of both the highest good and the darkest evil. Our strength comes from choosing our path every single day." The revelation led to a dramatic shift in strategy. Instead of simply trying to destroy the parasites, they began working on ways to free the imprisoned consciousnesses. Human engineers worked alongside Concordat scientists, combining their understanding of quantum mechanics with humanity's intuitive grasp of chaos theory. "The key," Chen explained during one late-night session, "is to maintain the disruption long enough for the consciousness to break free, but not so long that the crystalline structure becomes unstable. It's like picking a lock. You need just the right amount of pressure." The work was delicate and dangerous. Several attempts to free imprisoned beings resulted in the complete destruction of the crystalline structures. But gradually they began to make progress. The first successful liberation came 3 weeks after their discovery. The freed being, once extracted from its crystalline prison, proved to be a member of a species none of them had encountered before. Its memories were fragmented, but what it could recall painted a chilling picture of the force behind the parasites. They called themselves the Perfectionist Directive. The survivor explained through a quantum translator. They believed they could achieve universal harmony by forcing all consciousness into perfect, crystalline patterns. Those who refused were converted by force. As more beings were freed, a pattern emerged. The perfectionists had spread across multiple realities, multiple timelines, converting entire civilizations into their crystalline army. But they had never encountered anything like the Human Concordat Alliance, a partnership that turned the very concept of perfection against itself. The war entered a new phase. While part of the fleet continued to defend against parasite incursions, other ships began seeking out conversion centers, looking for opportunities to free more imprisoned consciousnesses. Each success brought new allies, new perspectives, and new understanding of the threat they faced. But the greatest change was in the relationship between humans and the Concordat. Working together to save these trapped beings had created bonds that transcended their technological and philosophical differences. The Concordat began to see the value in humanity's apparent chaos, while humans learned to appreciate the beauty of alien efficiency. "We were wrong," Vaxleth admitted to Rodriguez during a quiet moment between operations. "We thought humanity's primitive technology made you inferior. We didn't understand that your greatest technology is your adaptability, your willingness to embrace imperfection." Rodriguez watched as another freed being was welcomed aboard their station. "And we thought we had to catch up to your level of advancement. Instead, we found out that sometimes the best way forward is to remember where you came from." The war was far from over. The Perfectionist Directive was still out there, still converting civilizations into their crystalline army. But for the first time, they faced an enemy they couldn't predict or control. An alliance that turned their greatest strength into a weakness. As human and Concordat ships prepared for their next mission, Rodriguez reflected on how far they'd come. First contact had led to cooperation, cooperation had led to understanding, and understanding had led to something entirely new. A future where perfection and chaos could coexist, each making the other stronger. The stars stretched out before them, holding both promise and danger. But whatever came next, they would face it together, proving that the greatest strength comes not from achieving perfection, but from learning to embrace imperfection. The massive fleet assembled at the edge of Concordat space represented something unprecedented in galactic history. Human vessels flew alongside Concordat ships, while vessels crewed by freed beings added their unique designs to the formation. They had tracked the perfectionist directive to its source, a massive space station existing partially in quantum space, where the transformation of entire civilizations into crystalline armies had begun. Captain Rodriguez stood on the Hyperion's bridge, now modified with both human and Concordat technology. The quantum displays showed the impossible scale of their target, a structure larger than Earth's moon, its crystalline surface reflecting the light of distant stars. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Chen announced. "Quantum static generators are at maximum capacity." The freed beings confirmed the station's structural patterns matched their memories. First speaker Vaxlet's image appeared on the main screen, bioluminescent steady with determination. "The Concordat fleet stands ready, Captain. Though I must admit, attacking the source of a multi-dimensional threat with chaos theory and deliberately imperfect weapons still feels strange. Sometimes the strangest plans are the best ones," Rodriguez replied. "Commander Okafor, what are we looking at?" The science officer's holographic displays showed complex quantum mechanics equations. The station exists in a state of quantum superposition, partially phased between multiple realities. It's how they've been accessing different timelines for their conquests. But that same complexity makes it vulnerable to our disruption tactics. The plan they had developed was audacious even by human standards. They would use their quantum static generators not just to disrupt communications, but to force the station into a single quantum state, trapping it in one reality where it could be attacked. "All ships, begin Phase 1. Rodriguez ordered. "Launch quantum static generators at designated coordinates." The fleet moved in perfect formation, or rather, imperfect formation, their positions carefully calculated to create maximum chaos in the quantum field. Hundreds of quantum static generators deployed, creating a web of disruption around the station. The response was immediate. Crystalline ships began emerging from quantum space, their formations perfect as always. But the combined fleet was ready. Months of fighting had taught them how to counter the parasites' tactics, how to use their own perfection against them. "Enemy fleet showing signs of quantum destabilization," Okafor reported. "The static field is working. Station's quantum signature is fluctuating. They're trying to shift between realities, but the field is containing them." The battle that followed was unlike anything in human or Concordat history. The perfectionist directives forces fought with desperate precision, but each perfect formation was met with calculated chaos. Human railguns created gaps in their defenses that Concordat quantum weapons exploited. Freed beings, piloting hybrid ships of their own design, added layers of complexity that the crystalline ships couldn't adapt to. "Station is showing signs of quantum collapse," Chen called out. "They're being forced into our reality. Wait, we're being hailed." The transmission that came through was unlike anything they'd encountered before. Multiple voices spoke in perfect harmony, their words translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. "Why do you resist perfection?" the voices asked. "We offer unity. We offer purpose. We offer an end to chaos and uncertainty." Rodriguez stepped forward. "You offer imprisonment. You offer the death of free will. That's not perfection. It's stagnation. Your species is primitive," the voices responded. "You cling to chaos, to inefficiency, to imperfection. You cannot understand the beauty of our purpose." "We understand more than you know," Rodriguez countered. "We understand that true perfection includes imperfection. Life isn't about achieving a perfect state. It's about the journey, the growth, the freedom to choose our own path." As they spoke, the combined fleet pressed their attack. The quantum static field grew stronger, forcing more of the station into normal space. the perfectionist directive's defenses began to show cracks, literal and metaphorical. Multiple quantum fractures detected, Okafor reported. The station's containment systems are failing. Captain, I'm detecting thousands of consciousness patterns. The entire station is filled with imprisoned beings. Rodriguez shared a look with her crew. They had prepared for this possibility. All ships, initiate liberation protocol. Maximum quantum disruption, focused on consciousness patterns. Let's free them all. The next hour was chaos incarnate. As the station's quantum field collapsed, thousands of imprisoned consciousnesses began to break free. Some found their way to waiting ships, others manifested in ways they hadn't expected. The perfectionist directive's perfect order dissolved into beautiful chaos. Station power core is reaching critical levels, Chen warned. They're trying to initiate a quantum collapse. They'll destroy everything in this sector. Not today, Rodriguez responded. All ships, emergency quantum fold. Get clear of the blast radius. And someone get me a communication channel to those consciousness patterns. What followed was perhaps the most human moment of the entire war. As the station began to tear itself apart, Rodriguez didn't offer complex technological solutions or perfect strategic responses. Instead, she offered something simpler: choice. To all beings trapped within the station, she broadcast, you have a choice now. You can remain part of their perfect system and be destroyed with it, or you can embrace chaos, embrace freedom, embrace life. The choice is yours. The response was overwhelming. Consciousness patterns began streaming out of the station in waves, their quantum signatures chaotic but vibrant with life. The combined fleet ships opened their quantum receivers, providing safe haven for the freed beings. The perfectionist directive station imploded in a spectacular quantum cascade, its perfect crystalline structure shattering across multiple realities. But unlike their previous victories, this wasn't just about destruction. It was about liberation. In the days that followed, as freed beings were helped to recover their individuality and ships began the journey home, Rodriguez found herself in a quiet moment with first speaker Vaxleth. Your species continues to surprise us, the alien leader communicated, patterns showing deep respect. You took our perfect technology and showed us how to use it imperfectly. You faced beings of pure order and showed them the power of chaos. You turned a war of extinction into a mission of liberation. Rodriguez smiled. That's the real perfect system. One that has room for imperfection. One that values freedom over order, growth over stasis, life over perfection. As they spoke, ships from dozens of species worked together to help the freed beings, each contributing their unique perspectives and abilities. The galaxy was changing. The age of seeking perfect order was ending, replaced by something more complex, more challenging, and ultimately more alive. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community had led to something none of them had expected. They had proved that sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one with the most perfect technology, but the one that remembers to keep its humanity intact. The stars stretched out before them, full of new possibilities. Perfect order had been replaced by perfect chaos, and the galaxy was better for it. As the combined fleet set course for home, they carried with them not just victory, but a new understanding of what it meant to be truly advanced. The age of the perfectionist directive was over. The age of cooperation, of chaos and order and balance, had begun, and at its heart was the most imperfect, most adaptable, most surprising species of all humanity.